Hello everyone. So in management accounting, today I am going to cover a chapter called as ratio analysis. So this is Dr. G. Kavita, Assistant Professor, Department of BCom and MCom, Sri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science. So what is ratio analysis? To be clear in this term, you just want to be clear in a term called as ratio. What is ratio? Ratio, it is a simple arithmetical expression of the relationship of one number to another. And it is also a powerful tool for measuring what is happening inside the concern. And it is an analysis which is made between an expression of the quantitative relationship between two numbers. So the next part what we are going to see is interpretation of ratios. So in the interpretation of ratios, it is important factor. So though calculations of ratio is also important, but it is only a clerical task, okay, whereas interpretation needs skill, intelligence and foresightness. So the inherent limitations of ratio analysis should be kept in mind while interpreting them. So the impact of factors such as price level changes or change in according to the accounting policies, etc. should be also be kept in mind when attempting to interpret any kinds of ratios. So the interpretation of the ratios can be made in the following ways, like single absolute ratio. So generally speaking, one cannot draw any meaningful conclusions when a single ratio is considered in isolation, but single ratio may be studied in relation to certain rules of thumb which are based on well-proven conventions, as for example, when you go for current asset to current liability ratio, the rule of thumb which is used is 2:1. So coming to the second point, that is group of ratios. So group of ratios, the ratios may be interpreted by calculating a group of related ratios. So a single ratio supported by other related additional ratios becomes more understandable and meaningful. So for example, if you are taking the ratio of current asset to current liability may be supported by the ratio of liquid asset to the liquid liability. Coming to the third one, it is historical comparison. So historical comparison, it is one of the easiest and most popular ways of evaluating the performance of the firm. It is to compare its present ratio with the past ratios. So when financial ratios are compared over a period of time, and it gives an indication of the direction of change and reflects whether the firm's performance and financial position has been improved. Coming to the fourth one, it is projected ratios. Projected ratios can be calculated for future standards based upon the projected or pro forma financial statement, and these future ratios may be taken as a standard for comparison, and also the ratios calculated on actual financial statements, it can be compared with the standard ratios. Coming to the fifth one, it is inter-firm comparison. So inter-firm comparison is like ratios of one firm can also be compared with the ratios of some other selected firms in the same industry at the same point of time. So this kind of comparison will help in evaluating the relative financial position as well as the performance of the firm. So the next topic what we are going to see is significance of ratio analysis, or it may be also said as uses of the ratio analysis. So as it is one of the most powerful tool of financial analysis, it is used as a device to analyze as well as to interpret the financial health of the enterprise. Like just like a doctor examines his patient by recording his body temperature, blood pressure, etc. And before making his conclusions regarding the illness and before giving his treatment, a financial analysis analyzes the financial statement with various tools which is applicable, and they will be commenting upon the financial health or weakness of an enterprise. So some of the points which is to be under uses of ratio analysis is, first one it is the managerial use of ratio analysis. So under the managerial uses of ratio analysis, it comes to helps in decision making of the manager, it helps in financial forecasting as well as planning, and it helps in communicating, and it also helps in coordinating, which is one of the utmost importance in effective business management. It helps in control of an organization, and there are some more other uses like it is an essential part of the budgetary control and standard costing. And the second one is it is utility to shareholders or the investors. So you know who is an investor. So investor in the company will like to assess the financial position of the concern where he is going to invest. His first interest will be the security of his investment and then a return in the form of dividend or interest. Okay. So for the first purpose, he will try to assess the value of the assets and the loans raised against them, and the investor will feel satisfied only if the concern has sufficient amount of assets with them. So the next one is it is utility to creditors. So when you come to creditors, they are the suppliers extend short-term credit to the concern, and they are interested to know whether financial position of the concern warrants them their payments at a specified time or not. They also were very concerned to pay short-term creditors out of its current asset. So if the current assets are quite sufficient to meet current liability, then the creditor will not hesitate in extending their credit facilities to the concern. Then coming to utility to employees. So the employees, they are also interested in the financial position of the concern, especially the profitable position of the concern. So their wages increases and amount of any kinds of fringe benefits or related to the volume of profit which is earned by the concern. So the employees makes use of information which is available in the financial statement and the various profitability ratios relating to gross profit, operating profit or net profit, etc. So coming to the next point, which is utility to government. So government, it is they are interested to know the overall strength of the industry, and various financial statements have been published by industrial units. They are used to calculate ratios for determining short-term, long-term, and overall financial position of the concern. So the ratios may be used as an indicator of overall financial strength of public as well as the private sector. So in the absence of the reliable economic information, the governmental plans and policies may not prove the successful one. Coming to the next one, it is tax audit requirements. So some of the Income Tax Act by the Finance Act 1984. So under this section, every assessee engaged in any kinds of business and having a turnover or gross receipt which is exceeding 1 crore is required to get the accounts audited by the chartered accountant and submit the tax audit report before the due date for filing the return of the income. So the income tax authorities, they are in requirement of the statements like gross profit turnover, net profit turnover, stock in trade turnover, material consumed, finished goods produced, etc. So further, it is advisable to compare the accounting ratios for the year under consideration with the accounting ratios for the earlier 2 years so that the auditor can make necessary inquiries if there is any major variations in the accounting ratios. So under the classifications of ratios, we have traditional classification, functional classification and significance ratios. So in this topic, we are just going to see the functional classifications of ratios, which will cover all the ratios. So under the functional classifications of ratios, it is divided into liquidity ratio, long-term solvency ratio, activity ratio and the profitability ratio. So liquidity ratio, This ratio will measure the short-term solvency or the financial position of the concern, and these ratios are calculated to comment upon the short-term paying capacity of a concern or the firm's ability to meet its current obligations. So the various kinds of liquidity ratios are current ratio, liquid ratio, absolute liquid ratio or interval measure. Coming to the long-term solvency and leverage ratios. So long-term solvency ratio, they convey a firm's ability to meet the interest cost and repayment schedule of its long-term obligations. So the various kinds of long-term solvency ratios are debt equity ratio, debt to total capital ratio, interest coverage ratio, cash flow debt ratio or capital gearing ratio. Coming to the activity ratios are calculated to measure the efficiency with which the resources of a firm have been employed, and these ratios are also known as turnover ratio because they indicate the speed with which the assets are being turned over into sales. So the various kinds of activity ratios are inventory turnover, debtors turnover ratio, fixed asset turnover ratio, total asset turnover ratio, working capital turnover ratio, payables turnover ratio, and the capital employed turnover ratio. Coming to the last one, that is the profitability ratios. So you know what is meant by profitability of the concern. So these ratios will measure the results of business operation or overall performance and effectiveness of the firm. The examples of profitability ratios are gross profit ratio, operating profit ratio, operating ratio, net profit ratio, expenses ratio, etc. So under the liquidity ratios, the ratios which can be calculated as current ratio, liquid ratio, absolute liquid ratio and interval measure. And under the solvency ratios, we can calculate the ratios such as debt equity ratio, debt to total capital ratio, interest coverage, cash flow or debt ratio and capital gearing ratio. The ratios which can be calculated for activity ratios are inventory turnover ratio, debtors turnover ratio, fixed asset turnover ratio, total asset turnover ratio, working capital turnover ratio, payable turnover ratio, capital employed turnover ratio. And under the profitability ratios, we have gross profit turnover ratio, operating profit turnover ratio, operating ratio, net profit turnover ratio and expenses ratio. So the other one, that is under the profitability ratio itself, we can calculate return on investment, return on capital employed, return on equity capital, return on total resources, earnings per share, which is shortly called as EPS, and price earning ratios. So even though this ratio analysis is one of the most powerful tools of financial management, though ratios are simple to calculate and which is easy to understand, they suffer from a lot of limitations. So we are going to discuss about it one by one. The first limitation is limited use of a single ratio. So a single ratio usually does not convey much of a sense. To make a better interpretation, a number of ratios have to be calculated, which is likely to confuse the analyst that help him in making any meaningful conclusion. The second limitation is lack of adequate standards. So there are no well accepted standards or rule of thumb for all ratios which can be accepted as norms. Like for the current ratio, the thumb rule is 2:1. So there is no thumb rule for all kinds of ratios. Then third limitation is inherent limitations of accounting. So like financial statement, ratios also suffer from the inherent weakness of accounting records such as their historical nature, and ratios of the past are not necessarily very true indication of the future also. Fourth limitation is change of accounting procedure. So for example, if you are taking a change in the valuation of methods of inventories from LIFO method to FIFO method or FIFO to LIFO method, so they increases the cost of sales and it reduces considerably the value of closing stock. So which makes stock turnover ratio to be very lucrative and an unfavorable gross profit ratio. Window dressing. So window dressing, financial statement can easily be window dressed to present a better picture of its financial and profitability position to outsiders. So hence one has to be very careful in making a decision from ratios which is calculated from such financial statement. But it may be very difficult for an outsider to know about the window dressing which is made by a firm. So the next limitation is the personal bias. So ratio are only the means of financial analysis and not an end itself. So ratios have to be interpreted and different people may interpret the same ratios in different ways. As there is no standard norms for this management accounting, different kind of people, different set of people may interpret the same ratio in different kinds. The next limitation is incomparable. So incomparable or uncomparable, it is nothing but not only industries differ in their nature, but also the firms of the similar businesses widely differ in their size and accounting procedures, etc. So it makes comparisons of ratios difficult and it may mislead the concern. The next limitation is absolute figures distortive. So ratios devoid of absolute figures, they may prove distortive as the ratios analysis is primarily a quantitative analysis and not a qualitative analysis. The next one is the price level changes. So while making ratio analysis, no consideration is made to the changes in the price level of the company, and this makes the interpretation of ratio an invalid one. So the last one is clues but not a conclusion. Yes, of course, this ratios provides only clues to the analyst and not final conclusion. So these ratios have to be interpreted by these experts and there are no standard rules for the interpretation. Thank you. I think you have better understanding on the ratio analysis concept. When you have any queries, you can contact me at the below address. Thank you.